Welcome to SF Commercial Property Conversations with Bruce Bean, where Bay Area investments meet expert insights. Get ready to unlock the strategies of commercial real estate success.
So today we have Michael Nassif with us, and Michael has a very interesting story of basically growing up in LA and becoming a real estate insurance person. And we're going to talk about captive insurance today at some point, which I'm very excited to learn more about. So Michael, great to have you.
Thank you. Thanks, Bruce, for having me on your podcast.
So give us a little history here of how you got into the insurance world. You came out of uh, USC Northridge, and you grew up in LA.
Yeah. I was born in Los Angeles. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. Did my undergraduate studies at California State University of Northridge. Got a degree in economics, and I got into insurance. A lot of people say that they get into it almost on accident, and I could totally see why they say that. I never thought I would go into insurance when I was younger. But I did a little bit of like, so just to give you an idea, my dad's a lawyer, and I thought I was going to go into the family business, and I worked for him for 3 years after I graduated CSUN, and in those 3 years, I decided that I was going to look around and see what else was in the business world before settling into a career in law. And in doing so, I met one of his clients, and in helping them, I saw their tax returns, and I saw that they were making some good money. And I asked them, "Hey, what do you do for work?" And they told me, "Oh, I do insurance." So I looked into it, and it didn't you know a law license, law degree to practice law, it costs a lot of money, and you have to go to school for 4 years to
Yeah,
get
right.
to get into insurance. It takes like $500 up front and a month to get a license. So I did that, and I started from the bottom, just working um, personal lines and helping people out that would need help with their car insurance, home insurance, a personal umbrella, things like that. And before long, I I wanted to pivot again, and I went into business for myself with a partner, and I started a catering company.
Oh,
And
wow.
it gave me the perspective of a business owner, and all the headaches that come along with it. It could be very rewarding. It could be very profitable, but there's definitely a lot of work and a lot of stress that goes onto those business owners' shoulders. And when I exited that business, and was figuring out my next move, I thought, hey, you know what? I've learned a lot from the business world. Let me apply that to what I already know, which is insurance. And so I started helping out small business owners, and that turned into helping bigger and bigger business owners. And I was recruited by USI a year ago, and I'm in their middle market department. So I help business owners and business executives that run middle market companies. So companies that are doing revenue in excess of 20 million.
Yeah.
So
And so in that process, you basically got into this thing called captive insurance. Uh,
yeah, so USI has a wonderful training program. They really take folks like for example, I was not really uh, at the time that they recruited me. I was not really a middle market producer, right? But I was more of like small business type of insurance broker. And then they have this training program where they teach you what middle market companies are looking for, what they need and want out of a broker. And one of those things was one of those lessons was insurance captive programs, and it really caught my attention. And I really gravitated towards that and started to focus on that. And so a lot of my business development efforts have been around spreading the word of captives and what they can do for a business owner, the right type of business owner, they could work very, very well and be actually turn a sunk cost. A lot of people think of insurance as a sunk cost into a profit center, and we could talk about that in a little bit more depth later on in the conversation.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's very interesting. So you basically flip insurance on its head, essentially, in that it's no longer an expense or a sunk cost. Then all of a sudden it becomes a profit center by setting up your own insurance group. So I'm curious, how does USI fit into that equation?
So USI is a brokerage, and I'm a broker within this large company, and so I pretty much run my own little practice, and USI is a brokerage consultancy firm that focuses specifically in middle market for property casualty and employee benefits and retirement services. So all things that a business needs as far as risk management goes, and that's USI in a nutshell. They're a very large company, and they operate in all 50 states and internationally.
So how does that work in the for retirement services?
So they have a department that's specifically works on 401k solutions
Uh,
for companies,
I got,
and that's not my department. That's not what I do. But USI definitely has its own department that works on that exclusively.
but that's sort of 401k is not really an insurance product, obviously. So it's more.
No, it's not. It's not. They went into that space because it's lucrative, and when you're talking about their property casualty needs, their employee benefit needs, another big thing that comes up tends to be 401k, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that's kind of like the reasoning why they got into that.
Well, I assume USI kind of runs their own investment arm with the funds. Do they invest their own funds basically in the
That's a great question. I know that they have that USI stock is performing very well, but
Mm,
it is a a privately held stock the for USI employees and for what's that term? There's a term that I think it's called like a certified investor. You have to have like a certain
right.
liquidity amount and own like a certain number of assets to qualify for that.
Right. So they have this investment arm side also with the 401ks and so forth, and certified investors and so forth. So, wow, that's quite a broad group of services that they provide. That's interesting. And are it sounds like they are an employee. I don't know if you'd call it an employee-owned business, but an employee stock business.
They do reward their employees, whether it's the service department or it's the producers that bring in business. They do have incentives for those people when they perform their job at a very high standard. They're rewarded, and they can enjoy equity in the company. And it is not an employee-owned company. It's privately held. It's actually backed by a private equity company called KKR.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And but you know there are shareholders other than KKR, and those are the employees of the business.
Yeah. Sounds like KKR probably purchased USI at some point in the last whatever 10 or 20 years. Who knows
I think
exactly.
it was, yeah, I think it's been about 10 years.
Yeah, that makes sense. So they obviously are very smart at what they do. So that's a great gold star for USI, I would think, for sure. So tell us a little bit about your marketing strategy. You said that you use Zoom info. I'm not familiar with that particular platform. Can you give us a little clue of what that is?
Sure. Yeah, Zoom Info is a way. It's a database. It's a paid subscription service that allows you to get contact information for decision makers, and that's really ultimately who I'm looking to start conversations with, decision makers at these middle market companies. Zoom Info is a great tool. Another great tool that I use is LinkedIn and Sales Navigator.
Mm.
Sales Navigator is kind of the yeah, it's really more. I use it more than Zoom Info. But Sales Navigator is an amazing tool that allows you to look up a lot of information about either on the individual level, looking up people, or on the account level, lets you do a lot of research on the account level. And yeah, no, Sales Navigator is vital in what I do, and really honing in on a list of what I call, well, it's not what I call it, but my mentor taught me this. It's called the Dream 100 list.
Ah,
Basically, you take. In my case, I focus on a specific vertical or a couple of verticals, industry verticals. I focus my attention on transportation, healthcare, and manufacturing and distribution. Those are the three industry verticals that I focus my attention on. And using Sales Navigator allows me to build a list in real time with accurate information because they're providing it, right? And everything on LinkedIn is provided by the person that's on LinkedIn, right?
right, right.
So yeah, using LinkedIn and Sales Navigator is a very powerful tool to get in touch with people, and that's what I use.
So I'm curious, does USI provide this service to you as a benefit, or is that something that you pay out of pocket for?
So that's a great question. USI does pick up the tab for Sales Navigator, which last I checked was like $120 a month
Uh-huh.
for their premium account, like the premium access. So there are certain things that the USI does cover. Other things, for example, like I was mentioning to you that I'm a member of Provisors,
Mm-hmm. Right.
and there's a cost associated with that, and I'm sure you know what that is, and it's
Yes,
not it's not cheap.
I just paid it, so I know I'm very familiar with how much that.
But for example, that is not something that they'll cover.
Ah,
So I had to cover that out of pocket. But it has been well worth it in my opinion. It's given me so much already, and I'm barely, I think, 6 7 months in. It more than anything, it's really opened my eyes as far as I was not a big networker before joining Provisors, and I'm in another group called Team Referral Network. I don't know if you've
mm,
heard of them. But prior to doing networking and getting into networking, it felt like I was on an island, like all alone, right? And then I realized, hey, there's a lot of other people out there that I can partner up with, and they're looking for people just like me, and I'm looking for people just like them. And so I really use the Provisors Hub. You're familiar with that?
no,
Their
not
website.
yet. No.
Oh, okay, well, when you set up your account on the hub, it's like a directory. It's actually more than a directory. It has a directory feature, but also has an events calendar,
Ah,
and a couple other really interesting features. I recommend that you do check out the hub. But I use that also, like I use their directory to find those people that would benefit from having a conversation with me, and I would benefit from having a conversation with them, and I use that almost like I'm prospecting for new business. In that regard, I'm prospecting for centers of influence.
mm-hmm.
So it's it's a great directory, honestly, of a lot of professionals at the top of their game. So it that alone almost covers the cost of of the membership.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, most of the two other provisor members that I know speak very highly of it and say that the the cost benefit is very high, that they get more benefit than their cost. So I suspect,
Yeah, no, the ones that have been around for a while, I've noticed that they're very happy with their decision to join and to stay in provisors. And it's like anything else in life that you have to really water it, like water as in like plant the seed and water and tend to the that seed until it sprouts and then grows and then it matures and then you pick the fruit, right? So it takes a while,
yeah.
but once established and once you're in there for the long run, good things happen. Is my understanding, right? I'm still new to it, but from the people that I've talked to who have been around the block, that's what they tell me.
Are you part of any other groups like, say, Rotary or some other type of community service group?
Not in community service groups. So as far as other groups, yeah, I mentioned that I am part of Team Referral Network. Um, they're they're kind of similar to provisors in a way in that they're a referral based network. But they're a little bit more similar to BNI. If you're familiar with BNI, they meet on a weekly basis, and you're like part of a group that has like an exclusive seat. So your seat, no one else can really take your business category, right? Whereas provisors is a little bit more open. They meet once a month, and it's not exclusive. So like if you are in my example, if you do commercial insurance, there could be another member in the same group as you that does commercial insurance. Well, team is a little different in that it's exclusive. Once you're in it, that's your seat, and they don't really allow other people that compete with you to occupy another seat in the group. I'm also considering. Well, I've a couple of friends in provisors that have told me really great things about a group called ACG, which is Association for Corporate Growth. That's more of a middle market specific group, which is really of interest to me because I'm in that space. Provisors is kind of a hit. It's kind of a hit and miss in that regard for me. There are certain folks that they are focused on middle market, and then there's the folks that do residential mortgages or residential real estate, and it's not really like we don't
Yeah, you're not
have
going
a
to,
lot of overlap.
right.
So yeah.
Not going to get any business out of that side of it. So, wow. So that's very interesting. All these groups that I've never heard of. So, very good to have all that information in one place. Well, this has been a really interesting conversation for me, and I think the listeners will be very interested. Just for fun, let's end with your favorite sandwich.
Oh, my favorite sandwich.
Yeah.
I love a good Mexican torta or a good Vietnamese banh mi. Those two you can't go wrong.
So I'm curious, did you produce those when you were in the catering world?
I'm sorry.
Did you produce that type of sandwich when you were in the catering world?
Uh, no, but it you know um through learning to cook a lot of different types of cuisines, I have made my own tortas and banh mi's through the skills that I learned in the catering business.
So did you?
So it in a way, but that wasn't what we sold. We sold more of a Latin Asian fusion. So it was kind of an interesting concept.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll have to come back and readdress that at some point. But great to have you. Where can people get a hold of you if they want to get into insurance or find a new broker or look at some possibilities in the insurance?
Yeah, I will share my contact info here with a slide from a presentation I did recently. And if anybody would like to reach me, it has all my contact info. So you can reach me by email, michael.nassif@usi.com, or cell phone, or you can scan the QR code that's right here, and you'll be directed to my LinkedIn.
That's fantastic. This is the first time in 90 podcast that we've done this. So I may encourage this to happen with other groups. I think that's great. And sometime if people want to know more about captive insurance, please call Michael, because I think he can lead you through the process very quickly and thoroughly.
Well, thank you, Bruce, for the endorsement there, and thank you for having me.
Great to have you, and we'll talk again sometime soon.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on today's journey through the SF commercial real estate scene. Ready to share your story? Visit sfcommercialconversations.com/guest. Your insights could lead the next conversation.